Did you miss me? I'm back. Back from Las Vegas. It's me, Kirk Buchner, along with Evan Nolan. Evan didn't come with me to Vegas. He doesn't like me that much. But we run not.
I like Vegas even less. So.
Really?
I've been there twice, both times for work, and it's a place.
Blasphemy. Okay, I don't. I got to reevaluate everything that we work on together, which includes notinhalloffame.com, the fictitious athlete Hall of Fame, the fictitious rock and roll Hall of Fame, and most importantly, we're going to be doing our final big push for that, the United States Athletic Hall of Fame. And you still have time to vote. Go to www.notinhalloffame.com/USA. There's another week and change, well, probably when this goes up, but another week, where you can be a part of history. And you're going to be deciding who is going to be the greatest athletes in the United States.
And coaches and contributors as well, but we're focused mainly on the athletes.
Yeah, coaches and contributors are also a section. Basically, we put together, they call it a blue ribbon committee, and I think it's a pretty damn good committee where we've got 2 actual Olympic bronze medalists from the United States, a 7-time Pro Bowler, an NFL fan inductee, because that is a thing, and he was first ballot, and he should be, and along with some great bloggers across the country, and me.
Coaches, a few athletes, so.
Yeah. So like we yes. Oh, that's because we do have someone who's also a track coach who's part of this, like from UTEP, and we're going to be doing our live thing on November 8th. I think we're going to say, did we pick a time? I think it was going to be 7 Eastern.
7 Eastern AM.
No.
Okay, I was making sure.
Yeah. Well, 7 p.m. is what I was thinking.
No, yeah, 7 p.m. So I've been saying in all my videos that we're going to make our announcement November 1st. We're just closing the ballots November 1st.
Yeah, we're closing the ballot November 1st, but we're actually
we are a 2-person operation. So we need some time to make sure we have everything right.
We've got, we are more than that. We've got your social media manager.
Your social media manager.
We have Winnie.
There you go. Winnie the Pooch.
Winnie the Pooh Eater. She's not much help for many things, but she is.
And we have other people too, but we just need some time to make sure we're doing it right. So we are closing the polls, like I've said in all my videos, on November 1st. By the way, I did posted video 121 this morning.
Nice.
Bobby Jones, our last golfer. So I have 9 more to go. Numbers 120. I'm trying to decide. I think I'll do 125 and 126. In some order, as a preview, are going to be Larry Bird and Walter Payton. And then I'm going to be having a debate with my good friend that I've been threatening for a while, Brooks Sullivan, who is a stand-up comedian here in Chicago, as to if you can only choose one of them out of these 25, who's it's going to be. As a boxing guy, I'll take Larry Bird. A Chicago guy, he'll take Payton. And we'll do that as well. So, because this is like it says, this is the ultimate bar debate, right?
Yeah.
Who should be in, who shouldn't? And I mean, the answer is probably all of these guys all of these folks are eventually getting in. It's going to be interesting to see who the last of the 130 to get in is going to be.
I've only been really tracking personally who's at the top. I haven't really looked who's at the bottom.
Yeah, I know. I don't really want to know. I'm wondering. This is a question for like 58-year-old Evan Nolan.
I'll be 65-year-old Kirk Buchner. I don't know if I'm still doing this, but we're going to talk a bit about more of that later, because we've also put a couple things online too, and you can look at Evan's basically not pitches, but just bio, like 2-minute bios.
I tried to stay away from pitches. I will say the Jim Thorpe one that went up, I kind of screwed it up at the end because it was the first one I was like, I think he should be in our hall, but because Thorpe is my number 1. But and I kind of screwed it up. I wasn't used to doing pitches at the end. I paused. I'm like, I'm not going to record this whole thing just because I paused at the end. But yeah, it's more than anything, it's bios, and it's amazing what I've learned about like all of these athletes. Things I have learned. You either want to be the oldest or the youngest of people in your family. If you have a twin, that helps. It's also really good if you have terrible childhood tragedy. That apparently helps out quite a bit somehow. Also, if you want to become a golfer, basically get a job as a caddy when you're like very, very young. That also helped. So
I don't think was Tiger Woods ever a caddy? I don't think so, huh?
I don't think so, but it was Byron Nelson and Ben Hogan were both teenage caddies on the same golf course. when they were 14. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
They had a caddy tournament. So they had like the club had their main thing, and then they had the caddies got a tournament with prize money as like part of their bonus structure. And 14-year-old Byron Nelson against 14-year-old Ben Hogan in a caddy tournament that Ben Hogan won on. There was a 9-hole golf course. They had 9 holes. They tied. They did another 9 holes, and Nelson won on the Hogan won on the very last shot. Just like all these little funny things where people connected and things I had no idea about. A lot of these people is crazy. So I mean, Jim Thorpe, when he went to the Indian Industrial School in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, wasn't an athlete, but he watched a bunch of people doing high jump and decided like I can do that, and went and jumped 5'9" on his first attempt. Then this is pre-Fosbury flop. He just jumped up over 5'9"
Right.
on his first attempt, better than any of the guys who had been training. And who was the coach at Carlisle Indian? You know?
Shit, I know this. Crap. I think he's a nominee, isn't he?
Yes. Pop Warner.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But just like all these little things are like, this is weird. So anyway.
All right.
So I've learned a lot. I always learn a lot whenever I do this stuff, but it's been a lot of fun. We got, like I said, 9 more to go. One race car driver who I think is going up tonight. I think next one up is going to be Dale Earnhardt. And so then we have, and we'll have 8 more after that, including a couple real big ones. So,
all right. Well, as Winnie was reminding us here, we actually have other halls of fame to talk about.
That is true.
Yeah.
There are other halls of fame. That seems unlikely.
Yeah, it does. It does. But of course, if that wasn't the case, then I don't know how we would have ever met. We've got actually a lot of Hall of Fame related news. That's not always the case, but we're going to kick off with the biggest one. The Baseball Hall of Fame has announced the 8 candidates for the modern era. I think I always get that.
The contemporary baseball.
Contemporary era. Okay, sorry.
Managers, executives, and umpires.
Yeah, so I think we're going to take a look to see who those 8 people are. Before we went on, you've been pretty much upset. You've got a very strong opinion on one of them.
Yeah, we'll get to him.
All right.
So we'll get to him. I have to say though, this is a very, very strong list. It probably includes. I mean, looking at this, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 very strong candidates for manager. We have 2 umpires. We have 1 executive who I think is very important, and probably one of the most important GMs who hasn't really gotten much is here as well. So 7 of these 8 people I have no trouble with, and I'm worried that the 8th one's getting elected. So we'll go. Can we start with? Why don't we just do them thing by thing? Do you want to just start with the managers?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Categories? Yeah, sure.
So let's start with the managers.
All right, so I guess the first one, obviously, is the Toronto Blue Jays fan I'm the most passionate about, because I've been feeling, and I think you and I have said this before, and I think a lot of people in Canada have felt this way. Cito Gaston's been forgotten by Cooperstown.
Cito Gaston's a Hall of Famer, and it's kind of weird that he's not in already.
It's weird that he's never even been thought of. I don't think he's ever been nominated in any capacity. Gaston isn't just the manager of the back-to-back Blue Jays teams that won the World Series in 92 and 93. Cito is one of those rare guys, especially for a manager who's associated with one team. Because before he was a manager there, he was a longtime hitting coach and the heir apparent for a long, long time. So, and if he was the hitting coach at one point, still taking that prowess with him, let's not forget the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't know if they're the only team to ever do this, but in '93 they had the top 3 batters. In terms of
it was Molitor,
Olerud who won the batting title, and then Alomar.
And Alomar, right?
Yeah. So
and that team also still had Dave Winfield and Ricky Henderson on it. So
Winfield was in the 92.
I was 92, and Henderson was definitely 93.
Because like Molitor replaced Winfield at the end.
Winfield. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So
sorry. Apologies to Dave Winfield and Paul Molitor for screwing that up.
Oh, I'm sure they're perfectly fine, and possibly eventual nominees for the U.S. Athletic Hall of Fame. Maybe Winfield.
They're probably next tier. There are a few people I was thinking once we clear 25 out, who's next? because we have a good group coming in. But anyway, let's get back to this. We'll talk about the end.
So Cito, but I actually don't have him as my top manager. I'll get to that later.
I actually don't either, but I'm going to put it out there. Cito Gaston's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. I'm just going alphabetically here. Davey Johnson, he's the one I have fourth, although it's not that I have a problem with him getting in either. 17-year vet, multiple time manager of the year. My knock on him is the amount of loaded talent that he had. He only appeared in one World Series and was lucky to win it on a fluke.
Yeah, which they won. Not that I remember that in any way, shape, or form, and it traumatized me for much of my childhood.
If you can't figure out what Evan's fan base is, I guess you just did.
I still don't. Yeah, I'm not going to go into why Stapleton wasn't playing first base instead of Buchner at the end of that game. But
did a whole show on that. But yes.
David Johnson is someone else. Again, I wouldn't be upset if David Johnson got in. I agree with you. He's fourth on this list, but that's only saying he's fourth because the other three are all exceptional candidates, if that makes sense.
Sure.
David Johnson is a very, very serious candidate. I just happen to think the other three are better.
Yeah, and if they go by pure numbers, he's the number one guy. He's got the best winning percentage.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say he definitely has the most wins. So
yeah, see, he's got a winning percentage over 560. So the person I've got number one, and I found something really interesting because we talked about this before. It's three-time manager of the year, Jim Leland. And so a lot of people knock that he couldn't get Pittsburgh over the hump. Okay, it was Barry Bonds, Bobby Bonilla,
Andy Van
Slyke, and then whatever he got from Doug Drabeck, and that was about it. And Bonds was never a great playoff performer.
You are underestimating the power of Sid Bream, my friend.
I wouldn't be the first to underestimate him, and I'm not even saying that sarcastically, because that is true. Yes.
Sammy Khalifa. So I mean, I think if you looked at the four of these, Leland is pretty much everyone's number one. 22 seasons, three-time manager of the year. I mean, just
World Series winner with the Marlins, the most
World Series winner with the Marlins.
And something I found interesting because we talked about this before, and I asked you, does it matter that, or maybe it wasn't you I asked, I thought it was, but that he helmed the United States to a World Baseball Classic win? But in the bio, they mentioned that.
I think it should.
It's national.
Yeah, I think it should. I think it should make a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, they hold it against them if they finish last. So why shouldn't it count if they win it?
Mm-hmm.
So I think Leland is the best here. I actually, like I said, I think all four of these guys are legitimate. Leland is number one. Cito Gaston probably is number three, only because number two is another one who.
Lou Piniella. I have them tied.
Yeah. Lou Piniella.
Yeah, Lou Piniella and Gaston. Piniella is also, when he got that World Series ring, and probably the most forgotten World Series in the last 40 years, when Cincinnati bitch slapped Oakland, and nobody saw that coming.
No.
And it's forgotten because I think what do you have? Barry Larkin, Jose Rio, and
Jack Armstrong. Didn't Armstrong pitch a no-hitter that year? I mean, that was
1,835 wins, three-time manager of the year.
He was manager of that 2001 Mariners team that won 116 games.
Yeah,
as well. Don't forget that.
True too. That's very true. Is that still a record? I think
it is for the American League.
American League. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, if any one of these, I could see any of these four guys getting in. I don't know what they're thinking because I don't think any of these guys have ever been nominated before.
I don't think so either. I hope at least two of them get in.
Well, and to remind people how to get in, and it's not easy because you're not going to have a floodgate because you can't. You can only vote for a certain amount. I think it's 3, and it's got to be 75% of the ballot.
Yeah.
So 12 out of 16. So that's not easy. That's why we get a lot of goose eggs.
Right.
And go ahead.
Yeah. And a few years ago, we had La Russa, Torrey, and Bobby Cox the same ballot, and all three of them got in through this process. But that's hard to argue any of those three, which is probably why Pinella's wasn't even there. Because if you have those three guys, why bother putting anybody else up? So I'm hoping. I mean, I hope Leland. How old's Leland now? He's got to be 80 something, right?
Yeah, but he looked 80 when he was 40.
Yeah, it's true.
Uh,
Jim. Oh no, Jim Leland's not even 80. Jim Leland is 78.
yeah, they were passing around the picture of Leland still smoking in the clubhouse in the 2000s,
Yeah, Cito Gaston is older than Jim Leland.
which is crazy.
Lou Pinella's older than either of them.
You know, because Cito Gaston for me, he looked the same I first remember him as a hitting coach in the mid '80s, and then when he even came back as a hitting coach in the 2000s, and
Yeah.
you could put a side by side picture, and
Here's the funny thing: Leland is the youngest of the four of them. Davy Johnson and Pinella were both born in 43, making them 80. Cito Gaston was born in 44, making him 79, and Leland was born in 45, making him only 78.
What affected his age, his looks more? Smoking a lot or Barry Bonds?
I mean, isn't Barry Bonds the reason you smoke a lot?
There you go. All right, so I guess we'll move on from there. I mean, like I think we can both agree that we're pretty much happy with. We have our favorites. We're almost in lockstep with each other.
If it ends up being, let's just say it ends up being Davy Johnson's the only one who gets in, will I be disappointed? Yes. Will I be like pissed? No. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, let's get who you will be pissed off because we have two umpires.
All right. Well, the first umpire, I'm going to say the first umpire, I have nothing against Ed Montague.
Okay. Neither do I. But you've got a pretty passionate take against Joe West. I think I know where you're going with this, and I'd like to hear it.
Joe West umpired more games than anybody in the history of the league. That's not a good thing. We talk about compilers and stuff, right? And people are like, oh, he just stuck around for whatever. And then we say other people like Fred McGriff did get 7 more home runs. And had he compiled, he would have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. But like, let me start with Ed Montague for a second. So Ed Montague, National League umpire since 74, crew member, full-time crew in 76. Worked 7 LCSs, 7 Division Series, 6 World Series, was the crew chief of the 2004 and 2007 Red Sox victories. So of course I like him. But very, very good umpire for a very long time, very little controversy around him. Okay. Joe West is a douche. He upped 5,460 games in his career, which is the most. He started in 1976 and he retired, what, a year ago, 2 years ago, something like that?
Something like that, yeah. 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah, I think, hold on. Yeah, let me look at 21, yeah, 2 years ago.
Very few people have delighted in being wrong more than Joe West.
Angel Hernandez.
I said very few have more.
Okay, yeah.
There is who's the other one? Eric Gregg was another one who's real bad. Like Eric Gregg, Angel Hernandez. Every time you see him trending on Twitter, you know what's up. Yeah, you know what's up. He had the worst statistical. Angel Hernandez had the worst statistical, easy for me to say, season of an umpire since they started tracking that this year. He had a game in which his correct ball strike percentage was 78%. Like Angel Hernandez is like both a example of why people hate unions and why they're pushing for robot strike zones. So
you know, you and I are you and I are racist because we did that because Angel Hernandez will also play that card.
Oh yes, I know very much. The Latin American ball players hate Angel Hernandez because of his race. That's exactly what it is. So Joe West is he is the epitome of being able to fail yourself forward. He was a terrible, terrible umpire I can't speak for his work in the 70s and early 80s because I don't remember. But at least my entire real baseball watching life that I cared about, say like I really started collecting baseball cards hardcore in 1988, 1989. So we'll start there, right? So 88 through, well, I've really been falling off baseball watching the last 2 or 3 years. So let's say 88 through 2017, right? That 30-year period, he was the worst umpire. Every time he came up, you're like, oh God, with Joe West today, what the hell's going to happen? Like he became more, a great umpire is not part of the show, right?
Yep.
He not only was part of the show, he thought he was the show. And he would make terrible calls and be challenged on them. And this like Pizza the Hut of a man would somehow like get in fist fights, jowls jangling all over, not fist fights, verbal altercations, jowls jangling all over the place when he's clearly freaking wrong. Like the number one reasons we have replay is because Joe West existed. Like he was a net negative on the sport. And I know Vinny is a big proponent of Joe West. Vinny's too young to know who Joe West was. I'm sorry.
He's actually bigger on another individual that we're going to talk about.
Fine. But I mean, I know when Joe West retired, Vinny did a whole thing about how Joe West, a Hall of Famer. If Joe West gets elected, they should just stop electing umpires.
For those wondering who we're referring to, that's Vinny Laspinuso, who does a show with us and is, I'd say, I'll put him against anyone in terms of Hall of Fame knowledge. Anyone.
Yeah, I agree, including myself.
Myself too. We're very fortunate.
The Halls of Fame are going to be his life's work. So
yes, and it's going to be it's going to be a life well spent. I totally mean that.
So, all right. So that's my thoughts on that. You have any thoughts on Joe West or Ed Montague?
I barely remember Montague, and Joe West I always thought was a clown. I didn't feel, obviously I didn't feel this.
That's what I'm going to say. That's why Montague's more worthy. The fact you barely remember him is a good sign. It's because Montague was a good umpire.
I don't have the same visceral reaction against Joe West that you do. Saying that I have him dead last in all of this.
That's fair.
Yeah. We have two executives. One I forgot all about, and I shouldn't have, because I was doing a whole deep dive on everything. That's Hank Peters, 42-year veteran, first becoming a general manager with the Athletics, but he wasn't the GM but a lot of what he built was part of the Oakland A's three-peat.
Yeah, what he built became the dynasty. He was gone before the dynasty happened.
Right.
If that makes sense. He's the guy who drafted all those guys.
And we see a lot of that in baseball.
And then all those guys came up, and there you go.
Where he did win was the team that he built in 1983 for Baltimore, when the Baltimore Orioles won all that. I forgot that he was a big part of Cleveland's build, and because Cleveland was so good in the mid-90s. You and I talk about Kenny Lofton.
But everyone forgets how bad they were before that, because I mean, Major League was about how hapless that franchise was. There's no other franchise that could have picked.
Oh, I remember.
That 93 to 98 run of the Indians, that was a ridiculous team. Ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Team.
And it's a shame, but that's baseball. That's all sports. I mean, the Buffalo Bills just couldn't put it together when it mattered the most. And they've got how many Hall of Famers? 4, and 5 because of Levy. I always forget about that. So you have five in that.
Oh, wait, hold on. They got Smith, Kelly, Thomas, Reed, Levy, and I guess Ralph Wilson as well.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, and there are other people. I'm a big proponent of Darryl Talley.
I feel the same about Cornelius Bennett.
I feel even more stronger. I feel more strong about Cornelius Bennett. You can't have a team that gets the 4 straight Super Bowls and have only one Hall of Famer on that defense. I'm sorry. That defense was really freaking good.
They were. But the one I think this is Vinny's guy. It's Bill White, and
sorry, but just by the way, Hank Peters is one I was saying.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most forgotten general managers. 100% worthy of the Hall. I don't think he'll get it because his name isn't as big, but 100% worthy of the Hall.
I think he's going to be one of those people because correct me if I'm wrong. I think when they have 3 or 0, they don't even announce what their vote totals were. I think
Okay.
this is going to be one of those. Bill White's very interesting to me because this is one of those perfect categories when you look at the sum of the parts. Very good baseball player. I have him in the top 50 Cardinals of all time, in the Cardinals Hall of Fame. Probably should have been a little earlier than he was, but I mean, the Cardinals were late getting to that, and we'll look at it.
The Cardinals set up they set their Hall of Fame correctly. They're just late getting it going. And by late, I mean about 75 years late.
Yeah, so the Blues that we're going to talk about a little bit later weren't so bad, but he also was, and I don't know what the, and someone wants to educate me on this, please do. He made history as the first African-American president of a league, but I'm going to be blunt. I don't know what you really do as the president of a National League or American League, other than decide, okay, are we keeping the DH? No,
well, I mean, he was there. He was there in the Rockies and Marlins joined. I don't know what he had to do with that, but
that's that was part of the bio, and I was thinking the same thing. Like, are we just we're evening everything up? Like, what do you really do? Like in Canada here, we have a governor general, which is basically our liaison to the crown, as my dad used to say. Governor general here is basically some asshole who decides what color napkins to put out when somebody shows up with a crown.
Makes sense, yeah.
Miss you, Dad. But I don't know if that helps him, hurts, or does anything. I don't know. I do think that is important to recognize that this happened. Although I'm trying to remember, was this also might have been a bit of a reaction when Al Campana said something so stupid. If you remember that. I just thought of this now. I should have looked this up. It was something he said on Nightline. I'll apologize. I'll put a note down on the comments here as to what it was, because I'll look that up. But I know it was something. I think he had the same role. I might be even wrong, but this might have been more reactionary. Either way, Bill White, from everything I've sort of read, seems very well liked, although there was some comment against him. But saying that, I think this is a very interesting candidate. I'm happy to see him here. He's gonna, I would think, and correct me if you disagree here, I think if the voters here are looking at Peters versus White, they might edge it to White, just because of name thing. I think though this is a great ballot for managers.
Yeah, this is a great manager ballot. There's no question. But like I said, I'm just worried Joe West is going to screw stuff up.
We'll find out. We're going to know this very soon, December 3rd. So they're going to meet and they're going to announce it that night. So we're only going to be 5 weeks away from learning what's going to happen there. So either way, congratulations to all 8, except for maybe, well, I'm congratulating all 8. Maybe Evan's not for making it this far.
Well, I mean, congratulations again at getting nominated. It's an honor just to be nominated, right? I understand the way this works. There's no way that West wasn't getting nominated. Let's be honest. Like there was no way that wasn't happening. It just, if he gets in, there's a problem. I have no trouble with this being nominated. I have trouble with this getting elected.
All right, so I guess segueing from Bill White in the St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Fame, we're going to look at the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame, who were also late getting started. They had their first Hall of Fame induction last year. The Blues first became a franchise in '67. One thing that Evan and I have always stated, and if you're going to be a franchise or really any institution, and 25 years is the perfect jump off point to start your Hall of Fame.
Right. Yep.
So the Blues already put in a lot of people in their first one, grandfathered anyone who already had their retired number, and then they added a few other names. But we got 3 new names. I
have to do this, including the United States Athletics Hall of Fame nominee, Brett Hull. Sorry, continue.
That's true. Brett Hull, yes. Yeah. I think there was a few Canadians here who were a little upset when he played for the Team USA, but he did.
He is a dual citizen, so
yes, he is.
And although he spent some of his childhood in Chicago and then the rest in Winnipeg, and then was in the Canadian juniors. So
you know, here in Winnipeg, I can see sometimes, depending on where you're living and how you live your life, maybe that would make you want to represent other places. But anyway, uh, and actually, Winnipeg Jets are actually going to be mentioned a little bit shortly too here. So the three people, Pavel Demetria. Unfortunately, this is going to be posthumous. Demetria, who is a point per game player, with the Blues, four-time All-Star, one-time Lady Bing, which Evan and I will say the only major trophy you will never put on your Tinder. This guy's in Slovak. I can imagine him trying to pick up somebody. Oh, you're a hockey player, huh? Yes, I won Lady Bing. You did what? I won Lady Bing.
Yeah, I have to say the impressions are getting better. So
I don't remember how he sounds, but yeah, Pavel was
probably not like that.
probably nothing like that. I don't really do a Slovak accent, so I just ran with it.
Got it.
Demetria, unfortunately, was part of the 2011 tragedy of Lokomotiv, of the Russian league, where that
Yeah.
killed everyone. Demetria, being at the tail end of his pro career, still probably good enough that he could have played in the NHL. A fringe guy for maybe the Hockey Hall of Fame. He'll probably never get there, but he's an excellent choice for this hall.
Correct. Yep.
Mike Liut, a very, very good goalie at one point in time, the early 80s, for like a 3-year stretch. He was in that conversation for the top 3 goalies. He actually won in 80-81 the Ted Lindsay Award, which was voted on by your peers. So the player version of the Hart Trophy. A lot of people in Canada remember him for being absolutely horrible in the Canada Cup that year, but whatever. As a Blue, he's not the first great goalie they had, because they had Hall, like
Right.
in the late 60s. But you know, the Blues were an average team in the 80s. They had Bernie Federico and Mike Liut, not much else. And those two players were basically a big part of that. I'm a big fan of Liut getting in here.
Yep.
And he definitely deserves it. The other person, again, there's the Winnipeg connection. A little minor surprise, because I have somebody ahead of him. That's Keith Tkachuk. Twice an All-Star with the Blues. I think he's better known for what he did with the Jets/Coyotes, and rightfully so. He was a better player then. I have Adam Oates actually ahead of him, personally.
Yeah, I agree. Adam Oates should be ahead of him.
Yeah. Having said that, I don't have a problem with it. I just wondered. I mean, Oates' time there was brief, but holy crap, was he good?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah, that was one of the greatest trades in Bruins history. Joey Juneau for Adam Oates.
That's a name that'll probably never get mentioned on this show again. And he wasn't even a terrible player, you know. But
no, Juneau is a pretty good player. Of course, I like Tkachuk. He's a good Boston boy, actually, Melrose, Massachusetts, which is my sports league growing up. Yeah, we had a bunch of them. He, Roenick, Amonte were around at the same time. Actually, Tony Monty grew up about three blocks from where I grew up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, same basic neighborhood. And he grew up in Medford, but I was right on the border. Yeah, Tkachuk was a heck of a player. I agree. I think of him with he was with the Blues. Is not the first person I think of though with the Blues. I think Oates is, and Oates is. I mean, I'm blanking. Is Tkachuk in the Hall? I know Oates is.
No.
Yeah,
all three of these guys are people who I've got on the not in Hall of Fame list of people to consider, because we rank 300. I eventually am going to get to that, because I haven't revised that in so long. The US Hall thing is, and for those, because I did get a message sort of saying, when are you going to get to it? It's making your site look bad, and I don't disagree with you. You're right. The person who sent that, but the US Hall has been taking a lot of our time. So just a little public.
The answer to that is after November 8th.
yeah, exactly. Then I'm going to, well, no, even then I got to put the crew together, because then we got to do all the bios for all the new nominees to replace.
We got to get the new nominees first, and all
and the votes.
Sorry, I just want
December 1st.
I just want to make sure for the next nominees, while we're talking here, we're talking out loud.
Sure.
We're going to go through 73, right? You had to be born before 73.
Yep. Yeah. So we've got quite a few new people automatically.
We have a lot of new people who are going to be coming up there.
Tiger and Shaq topping that list.
Tiger and Shaq.
But
Shaq got multiple votes in our original list, but he was a year too young. So
yeah, at that time,
Pete
and then
Sampras, Mia Hamm.
yeah,
Like it's gonna be
25 legends out, 25 legends in.
And the 25 legends in, you're gonna be like, why weren't they here before? The answers are they were too young. Christy Yamaguchi.
Is she 50?
I think she's born
Oh,
in
she must
73.
she must be, because like she won the Olympics in 92.
Christy
I would assume
Yamaguchi.
she would have been 20. My favorite
Yeah,
Christy.
she's born 71 because she's on. I did a list of the people born in 71. Cami Granado was born in 71.
That's a great one. I believe I could be mistaken on that. Cami Granado was the first female inducted into the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
Yeah, yeah.
But because I had a whole list of people born in 71, just so I could be prepared for next year. And then it took us, 3 years to get our act together. Or
yeah, I'll ask you to send that off later, because we'll have, in a couple of weeks, because we'll have a lot of work to do on that.
Yeah, but we'll start getting all that together once. Now that I've written everything, and I actually have one video that hasn't been recorded yet because I keep getting interrupted in my recording sessions, which is going to be the last video anyway. But yeah, once you have that, I'll get all that out to you.
Okay. So again, congratulations to these three players for getting in there. Three very good hockey players. So I think that's well deserved. They're going to have that, I think, in January, again, in a home game against the Caps. Moving on from that, just a quick thing, because there is a section that's going to be revised by next week, and we'll be talking about that. I did a separate show on that last year, but I'm just going to bring that up next week, providing that there's not a whole lot of Hall of Fame news like there usually is. Andre Iguodala has retired. Iguodala is not going to be a basketball Hall of Famer. He'll tell you that. He was asked that once. He says no. He said that's not an Iguodala impression, but that was sort of like the all caps thing. So again, as Evan will tell you, my impressions are horrible. I'm like that. I should get that South Park thing, that opening. All celebrity impressions are done poorly.
Exactly.
Yes.
But
Iguodala is someone who will be ranked when he's eligible on the basketball list. Probably the first, and I think will be the only player ever to be a non-starter, to be a Finals MVP, 4-time champion, more known with Golden State, even though his stats with Philly were far superior where he was a starter. Mm-hmm. So my question,
he was the AI to replace AI in Philly.
Oh, that's true. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Iverson left and Iguodala was there.
Yeah.
So,
my question to you is: at some point, we're going to see the Warrior as their big three ages out and retires. Curry, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. They're all going to be honored in Golden State. I know that Curry's a basketball Hall of Famer. Whether Thompson and Green are, I don't know. But all three of them will deserve to have.
Green 100% will be. Thompson's a little bit more questionable. I think Green 100% will be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I lean more towards Klay personally, but
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just telling you.
Yeah,
Green's going to be the guy.
Yeah, and actually, sort of like the thing that I didn't mention what we're going to do next week, time permitting. I've got my monitor of the top 50 players who are active, and that's almost done. And so I had to remove Iguodala because he was there in the low 30s.
Mm-hmm.
But do you see them possibly honoring Iguodala?
Just
Golden State.
Yeah, Golden State 100% will.
Like in a retired number, because I don't think they don't have a franchise Hall of Fame, do they? I don't believe so.
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Yeah.
It would be a pretty good Hall of Fame. I mean, start with Wilt Chamberlain and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, the number they can retire is 20,000.
Yes. And they'll retire scoring 100 points in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So let me see. Warriors Hall of Fame.
Off the top of my head, I don't believe so.
They do not.
Okay. So Iguodala.
No, Golden State Warriors Hall of Fame. Hold on.
They do?
No, they have Hall of Famers. They don't have people in their name.
Right. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't want. He was a big part of two of those wins. the last one he didn't play much, have a whole lot to do with it.
Correct.
Uh, I I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, like if you've got like some kind of there definitely should be something in it's the Oracle, right? Where they play. Uh,
Yeah, or when it used to be Oracle, they have a new name. I don't remember.
yeah,
It's
so like
keep
either in the home arena, if they've got something to reflect Iguodala, that would be fantastic. If they don't already, someone can let me know one way or the other. But that's kind of my more interesting thing because we know what's going to happen to those other three in Golden State, and rightfully so.
Mhm.
Iguodala, I don't know.
Interestingly, the Golden State has 6 retired numbers. I would have guessed 4 of them, probably, and the other
Who are
3,
they?
100%. So the 4 I would, here, I'll give you the 2 I would not have guessed.
Okay.
They've retired number 14 for Tom Meschery.
Okay.
I'm not even sure who that is. And number 16 for Al Adels, good player. I would have forgotten about it.
Yeah, I remember reading about him. I never saw him play, but
Yeah, so
still.
I would have forgotten about him. But the other 4, the one that I would have had to think about was Nate Thurmond.
Mhm.
So Thurman's 42 is retired. The other 3 are Wilt Chamberlain, number 13,
Of course, yeah.
Chris Mullen, number 17,
Mhm.
and Rick Barry, number 24.
Yeah. So
So
they're gonna be,
no Tim Hardaway, no Mitch Richmond, no Chris Webber, none of that.
yeah.
None of those guys. So I'm presuming Curry, Thompson, and Green will all have retired. I don't know about Iguodala, but the other 3 will.
And those three should. And I might be sweet if they could all do it. Well, Curry's gonna get his own thing as he should. He was
Yeah,
just
Curry's getting something. I mean,
yeah.
we'll see. I mean, it's gonna be interesting what the relationship's gonna be with Thompson because Thompson's up for a extension after the season, and he's gonna want like $30 million, and I don't see why
Don't
Golden
give it
State
to
should.
him. I'm
Yeah,
not shitting on
but
Clay.
then what's the situation? This is a guy who's probably gonna have a statue outside the arena.
Yeah.
So how do you handle that? It's gonna be interesting to see what the relationship is if Curry's still there, and then because Green's already talked about leaving, but Thompson wants to remain a warrior for life at his price. So
Right. All right. So with that, because it's been 2 weeks. Unfortunately, we've got
yeah,
a longer death march, or just the people that we lost, and including a very massive one that I read
just
about
today.
an hour before we went on.
Yeah. But we'll start with the Beige Mistress. Josef Sisek, the Hungarian javelin thrower from the 1972 Olympics, passed away at the age of 77. Some say it's old age. We say it's a secret serial killer.
Mhm.
I would like to point I don't usually do this, but I have a lot of friends who worked with this man. So his name was Stephen Luttvack. He wrote A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, which won the Tony Award for Best Musical in 2014. He died at the age of 64. I had a lot of friends who have worked with him in one form or another. It was shocking that he passed to a lot of them. So I just want to and I mean, he did win a Tony. So I just want to point that out. But yeah, Stephen Luttvack was 64. Other celebrities we lost along the way, Suzanne Summers died.
Mhm.
It has to be the deadliest television program you should be on as a celebrity at this point is Dancing with the Stars. It used to be Murder She Wrote, but now it's Dancing with the Stars.
I've never watched that show, so
Yeah, there are a whole bunch of them have just passed away recently, but she was 76. She died of breast cancer. Just like an icon of our childhood, and then she became the Thigh Master person, which was kind of weird. But like just one of those people who's been our lives, like our whole lives. You know what I mean?
yeah, it was. It's sometimes like if they're when I just need a mental break from listening to news while I work or listening to sports news while I work. I put on Pluto TV, right, and it's just like 24/7 stuff. So I was doing like for a couple days just all Three's Company because it's goddamn brain dead. It doesn't require me to look up, you know.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
also really
go ahead.
I also really enjoyed Step by Step, I do have to say. So
I did not enjoy She's the Sheriff.
no, but I enjoyed Step by Step. One of my favorite lines of any sitcom ever is from Step by Step, which is yeah. So she ends up being pregnant in that show.
Mhm.
They think they're done. They have like the older kids, and she ends up getting pregnant. And Alan Thicke was her husband, I think.
I think it's Patrick Duffy.
Sorry, Patrick Duffy. Sorry, they look alike, those two, a little bit. It was Patrick Duffy. Yeah. But Patrick Duffy said to her, he said, "Oh man, I was looking to enjoy time alone with you. You still had your teeth." She looked at him like, what's the end of the sentence, sir? Just the way like her look is what made it so funny. But I still remember that. I haven't seen Step by Step in 25 years. I still remember the line because of the look Suzanne Summers gave him. But yeah, she was 76. Also passing away, Piper Laurie, one of the great remaining actresses of all time, Hollywood, 91 years old. Of course,
she was in Carrie, right?
Yep, she was the mom in Carrie. She was the love interest in The Hustler back in the day.
That's great. Yeah.
She was in Children of a Lesser God. If you ever saw that movie, that's a real good movie. But yeah, she passed away at the age of 91.
Yeah, it's a movie that I can't rewatch again after hearing all the stuff that William Hurt did to Marlee Matlin later. But anywho,
I get it. Yeah, but that movie is very good.
That's neither. Go ahead.
Yeah, and of course the big. Well, I'll do one more. Mark Goddard from Lost in Space died too. Did you ever watch Lost in Space?
As a little kid, they had reruns on that, but
okay. Yeah.
Was he the?
He's Major Don West.
So the one that Joey Tribbiani played in the movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly right. But yeah, he passed away at the age of 87. Now I was gonna say the one that matters the most for us, Burt Young passed away at the age of 83.
Paulie, yeah. It's Paulie was a great character. Sadly, like the Paulie of Rocky IV, where it looks like he at the end of the movie he's gonna fuck a robot, is certainly a poor character arc from just this. And he was nominated for that in Rocky, and he was amazing in it. My favorite thing, I remember my brother saying it because it was on just not that long ago, and because we were there when my father passed, so we had stuff on the background, and it was Back to School.
Okay.
With Rodney Dangerfield, and Burt Young plays his limo driver, but also the heavy who beats up the entire football team. And then my brother is looking at me and says, like, I'm supposed to believe that Paulie beats up the whole football team. This guy could, but he had a nice little role at the end. Well, let's say the end of his career, he was probably playing because he looked 80 at the time when he was playing. I think it was just like one episode in The Sopranos, where he was like doing a hitman. I remember that he was in a really shitty sitcom with Corey Haim.
Oh wow!
Yeah, where they played roommates. He's going back to college. That did as well as you think.
Okay, well, he was also in The Adventures of Pluto Nash, so he had that going for him as well.
Yeah, but
I also remember.
Go ahead.
I also remember when we were watching all our movies. My wife and I were trying at one point to watch all the movies ever nominated for Best Picture. I still remember we were watching Chinatown, and he showed up. I'm like, oh my god, it's Paulie, and she's like, who? I'm like, come on. So he has a minor role in Chinatown, but I just remember specifically being like, oh my god, there he is, look at him. But anyway, he was in a whole. He had a heck of a run in the 70s. Of course, the Rockies, Rocky the Gambler, Chinatown, Convoy. Did you ever see Convoy?
Right. Oh,
Machine.
Yeah, yeah.
Pigpen. This is a rubber duck. He played Pigpen. So yeah, just an American success story. Burt Young passed away at the age of 83.
Yep.
So all right, let's see if we can get through here. We had a Canadian Olympic medalist who passed away. So I forgot to mention him quickly. John Beer, who won bronze in 2008 as part of the rowing team, the lightweight fours, passed away at the age of 49. I lost Eric Griffin, the professional boxer who won gold medals at the 89 and 91 World Championships in the light flyweight division. He passed away at the age of 55. Also passing away, are you ready for this? Bud Somerville. I want you to tell me, Bud Somerville was in 2 Olympic Games and won 5 was in 5 world championships, winning gold in 65 and 74. Passed away at the age of 86. He was an American, a 5-time American champion, and 14-time Wisconsin state champion in what sport?
Milking.
Not far off.
It was Wisconsin.
Curling.
Oh, well, there you go.
Milk curdles, and that's kind of like curling. So yeah, but Bud Somerville passed away at the age of 86. From golf, Andy Bean, professional golfer, the PGA Tour and the Champions Tour, won 11 times the PGA Tour. Never won a major, but he finished second at the US Open in 83, second at the PGA Championship in 80 and 89. He passed away at the age of 70.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yep.
Yeah, he passed away at the age of 70 following complications from double lung transplant surgery. So, from basketball, Terry Dischinger passed away at the age of 82. He played with the Chicago Zephyrs, Baltimore Bullets, Chicago Pistons, and Portland Trailblazers. 3-time NBA All-Star, NBA Rookie of the Year in 1963, NBA Rookie First Team in 63, 2-time All-American in college at Purdue. But more importantly, he was a member of that 1960 U.S. national team that won gold and everything. So he was on there with Oscar Robertson and Jerry West and Bill Russell on that 1960 team. Was a pretty good team.
All 3 nominated for the United States Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yes, which is why it came up when he's like, oh, I talked about it so many times.
Yeah.
But he passed away at the age of 82. Also passing away from basketball, Brendan Malone. Former NBA champion twice as a coach with the Pistons in 89 and 90. Coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, coach of the Toronto Raptors back in 95, 96.
Yeah, original coach.
Original coach to them. Also the father of Denver Nuggets coach Mike Malone. Just won his first championship. Brendan Malone passed away at the age of 88. He still looked younger than Jim Leland did at 50. Let's see here. We got I just want to make sure. I knew we had one more basketball player. We had Fred Boyd, the ABA, passed away at the age of 73, played for the 76ers and the Utah Jazz, member of the NBA All-Rookie team in 73. He passed away, like I said, at the age of 73. Is everyone else I have here? Let me make sure. Yep, I'm almost done, believe it or not. There aren't that many. Walton Garrison, former professional football player, fullback for the Dallas Cowboys, member of their Super Bowl 6 team, one-time Pro Bowler in 72, member of the 25th anniversary team for the Cowboys, played for them from 66 through 74, was an All-Big at Oklahoma State. He passed away at 79. Everything Walt Garrison?
Yeah, it's sort of a bit cross promotion for a bunch of shows that are going to come up. Paul Lawrence and I are doing a bunch of retro Super Bowls, and eventually that's one of the things that I've recorded 5, but I still have to go back and do a bunch of things for that. So we watched Garrison play, well, not obviously live in person, but yeah, it was like one of those colorful characters, like on those teams. If he's who I think it is, I think he was one of those guys too who was promoting Skull. Like the
okay,
stuff like that.
The chewing tobacco.
Yeah. So, and apologies if I got that wrong, but yeah.
Well, I have to say this: Walt Garrison. I don't know where he is on the all-time rushing list for the Cowboys, but he would be the #1 rusher in Patriots history because he has more rushing yards than Sam Cunningham. But Garrison, more impressively to me, actually led the Big 8 conference in rushing yards his junior year ahead of some guy named Gale Sayers.
There you go.
And in his senior year, he had finished 13 yards short of leading the Big Eight behind a guy named Charlie Brown from Missouri. But very good ball player, passed away at the age of 79. From big,
just one thing. I just looked that up. Just back on Bill White. I just don't want to forget that.
Yes.
Al Campanis. I think he was the National League president at the time. I could be mistaken on that, but here's what he said. Asked why there was no black managers or general managers at the time. I forgot how bad this was. I truly believe that they may not have some of the necessities to be, let's say, a field manager or perhaps a general manager. I don't say that's all of them, but they certainly are short. Wow. I forgot.
I wish he said what he really meant. So.
Jesus. Sorry, I just didn't want to forget that.
Got it. Speaking of those mid-90s Indians, a member of their 1995 World Series losing team passed away. Jim Poole, the reliever, passed away at the age of 57. He played for the Dodgers, Rangers, Orioles, Indians, Giants, Indians again, Phillies, Indians again, Tigers, and Expos in his career. Was part of the 1987 American team that won silver in baseball at the Pan American Games. But yeah, he passed away at the age of only 57.
Yeah, a long time middle reliever. I remember him.
Yeah, one of those guys are like, it's just he went from team to team, but he was always employed, if that makes sense. He was never someone you desperately needed to keep. He was always somebody that you needed. Does that make sense?
Always a role for a player like that. Like maybe you're going to be the number 10 guy in a rotation, or not a rotation, like
on the staff. Yeah,
on the staff. But if you're good enough to be the 10 guy for a 10-year period, you did pretty damn good.
Yeah, pretty damn good. Yeah. Also passing away, Mark Howard James, known as the 45 King. He passed away at the age of 62. Hip hop producer from the Bronx. He is very much involved in a lot of the beats from hip hop. Like he was called the 45 King because he went and found old 45s that nobody knew and found hooks and beats from them. Probably his most famous one is Hard Knock Life by Jay-Z. Is him. The beat from that.
That's my least favorite Jay-Z, but anyway.
I get it. I'm just telling you it's the most famous.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah.
If you run through everything, I mean, Come Into My House from Queen Latifah. He's got stuff. Lisa Stansfield, MC Light, CNC Music Factory, Madonna, and sorry, what am I saying? Stan from Eminem was him too. Rakim, Craig Mack, Salt and Pepper, Gangstar, like there's all sorts of stuff going through. Yeah, he did. So Gangstar, he has both Moving On and Gusto from the Gusto album. But yeah, so both those back in 88 and 89. And also Moving On. Anyway, so but he involved all those. He passed away, as I said, at the age of 62. One of those guys, another one of those guys. I love session artists, but the guys who do the beats are also people we forget about and are so important for how music goes. But yeah, so he was 62 years old. Also passed away, Dwight Twilley, a American pop rock singer and songwriter, best known for I'm on Fire from 1975 and Girls from 84. Member performed with Phil Seymour's The Dwight Twilley Band. And he passed away at the age of 72. And I'd say by far the biggest name we lost before the name happened just before he came on here, Rudolph Isley passed away this week.
Oh, the Isley brothers. Okay. I missed that too.
He passed away on October 11th at the age of 84. So he was one of the three original members. Original members, Kelly, Ronnie, and Vernon, and then Vernon passed away. And so then the three of them went and did everything. Of course, Shout was their biggest recording, and then Twist and Shout and a few others. But Rudolph Isley, I can't remember what number in order he was. Died of a heart attack at the age of 84. So, He actually, believe it or not, died and he bought R. Kelly's former house, so he can move closer to his grandkids.
I hope he
So
really scrubbed that well.
it
There's
was,
not
yeah,
enough. There's not enough housekeepers in the world for me to move into that.
that is true. And probably the biggest name that passed away this week and just passed, we found out today,
Mhm.
actually passed away today. The king of the comb over, Sir Bobby Charlton,
Fair,
one of the
it's
greatest
fair though. But yes,
one of the greatest soccer players in English history and probably football history.
interesting.
He and George Best, who passed away a few years ago, not George Best. I always say George Best. It's why can't they have Best's last name? Yeah, it is George Best. I was right. He and George Best were the two main guys of that 66 World Cup team for the England. Charlton, of course, almost died in a plane crash. We talked about one plane crash rather with Pavel Dimitra. But there's a plane crash called the Munich air disaster. So they were United was going to fly to Yugoslavia to play a game in the European Championships, but had to stop in Munich to refuel. The weather was getting worse, but they were done. The plane was clearly not going to make it off the runway. And they basically the plane crashed and goalkeeper Harry Gregg got up through a hole in the plane and was completely unharmed and pulled Charlton out thinking he was dead and pulled him to the side and went looking for more people and then turned around after grabbing somebody else and Charlton was standing there like, hey, can I help? He went from thinking the guy was dead to getting the guy help. He had severe shock, was in the hospital for a week. But there are, of course, how many people died? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people died in that crash, including Captain Roger Byrne passed away in that plane crash. But Charlton recovered. Best was too young for that. He was 11 at the time, and Best was very much the brash youngster. Does that make sense?
Yep.
The hot-headed whatever guy. That was not Charlton. Charlton in his entire career with Manchester United, which was how many games did he play in his career? He played 606 games with Manchester United, scored 199 goals. How many yellow cards did he get in those 606 games?
I guess based on the way you've sort of set this up, I'm going to say 3.
You're overestimated. It was 2.
Okay. Yeah.
His scoring record was broken by Wayne Rooney with the club. Wayne Rooney, at the time he broke Charlton's scoring record, had 145. So he was very much the gentleman of the team. And famous, he went bald real young, had this weird comb over, like a butler from a like an old movie.
The 70s were weird, man. Like when it came to hair, because everyone was growing out their hair, every male, right? And the
Yeah,
amount of he had the most iconic comb over, but certainly not. He was not. Oh, he was. You could argue he was a trendsetter because there was piles of people. If I just do this, no one will know.
100%, 100%. But he was fantastic, a true gentleman, a true legend
Mm.
of soccer around the world. And
Do you have him as top
he was
10
he
all
was
time?
80 he was 86,
Yeah.
so it's not surprising he passed away. But it's still a loss. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Is he top 10 overall, like all time for you?
In English history, certainly.
Well, I'm talking world.
World history, probably in that 11 to 20 range, probably
Okay.
just out. If I like, and this is off the top of my head. I mean, I just off the top of my head, we're gonna have Pele, Zidane, Maradona, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and I haven't even really thought that hard yet. You know what I mean?
I put you
So
on the spot there. Sorry.
what?
I put you on the spot there. Sorry.
Yeah, and I mean Beckenbauer's got to be there. Like you start thinking about guys, he's probably in the 11 to 20 range. But there have been a lot of people who've played soccer over the last 100 years. That's still pretty good. So,
Well, the
yeah,
top guy
true
winning,
legend.
who won the last last World Cup in maybe the most soccer mad country, which says a hell
Yeah,
of a lot.
There's only one remaining member of that team now.
Oh, okay.
I saw this earlier. I can't think who it was, but he was the second last member of that 66 team. So I can't think of who it is, but anyway. So yep, so that's everybody.
Okay. So we're gonna move on to elevator up, elevator down.
Elevator up, elevator down.
I had a giant elevator down. I'm gonna pass it for maybe next week or later because I've talked about that person before, and I don't.
Let's save it because we've done too much today. Just do your elevator up.
Elevator up, and I do. I really want to talk more about our US Hall, but I want to give these ladies their due. The Las Vegas Aces, and if you're in, I'm gonna for the next 5 minutes, I'm talking women's basketball. So fast forward 5 minutes, and I don't blame you. Sometimes I would do the same thing. You probably didn't watch it, and I'll admit I can only watch highlights because it's on in October. Like I don't know what to tell you. There's
I actually watched a large portion of this game.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We were watching something else, turned it off, and happened to be on TV, and I'm like, oh, let's keep watching it because it was an ESPN. So
the Las Vegas Aces are a very, very special team. They just won their second straight championship, and to do so, they beat another special team in New York, led by Breanna Stewart. But Las Vegas is on that next level. They just are, and I think right now I'm looking at 6 possible Hall of Famers on this team or in this organization. One, their leader, Asia Wilson, she's only played 6 years. She's already been an MVP twice, a champion twice. Her career is over now, even if she's 26, 27. She's a Hall of Famer, period. The others are just now, you got your supporting team. Jackie Young, who isn't the second most popular player. I'll talk about her later, but she's, I think, in my mind, the second best player on that team. This is helping her out huge because now she's again she also had I think was it her 5th All-Star. Hold on, I actually have this written down. But her thing is added. A great role player on, again, a very, very special squad. The most popular player probably on this team is Kelsey Plum. Kelsey, who's married to Darren Waller, formerly of the Raiders, who had a really good career. She's approaching 30. She's only been an All-Star twice, but when you have her level of popularity, and I know some people might be like, well, none of them are popular. Okay, relatively speaking, she is. All right, because I knew who Kelsey Plum was, I got a free cake in Vegas.
Fantastic.
I'm totally serious. I did. Because I had a conversation about the Aces with my server. And she gave me a bunch of extra shit that she wasn't supposed to. But for her, that's great. There's another good player here in Chelsea Gray. Another one who's just added another All-Star thing. So you've got this nucleus of 4 All-Stars who know how to play together. Now I got 2 more people here. One was already in the Hall of Fame, but it's the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. You can get in multiple times.
Yep.
And that's Becky Hammon, who's now 2 for 2. Prediction, which is probably the most easiest prediction I will ever make, and you will agree with it 1,000%. Becky Hammon's going to be the first NBA head coach. And
I wish the Celtics had hired her instead of in the last time we were doing a big search.
And unlike when a lot of things are pandering, this is not going to be one of those cases.
No, she's a fantastic coach. Fantastic.
And if you don't want to believe me, believe Pau Gasol. Pretty much
believe Popovich.
Believe Popovich. I haven't heard Tim Duncan say that, but it's because I don't hear Tim Duncan talk. So
Tim Duncan had his vocal cord surgically removed 4 years ago.
Right. So Becky Hammon is by far, I'll put her top 10 coaches, period.
In basketball?
Period. In terms of what she's able to do, current right now in what their respective league. And overall what they're doing. Maybe not top 10. I might be.
I'd have to think about it. I don't think it's insane.
Yeah, I might be off on that, but I'm a huge fan of Becky. And here's another interesting one you wouldn't think of. And I was reading a lot more about it, and that's their owner, Mark Davis.
Okay.
Mark Davis just took that over 2 years ago.
He's won 2 championships.
He's won 2 championships. Also, he's built an entire state-of-the-art training facility that no other WNBA team has. This guy is committed to this team. So
he's committed to Vegas too. What I've heard about with the Sphere out there.
I went.
How is it?
I'm not joking when I said, because we saw U2 there.
You saw U2 at the Sphere?
Yeah.
Oh my God, how was that?
I'm not kidding when I say I did this the whole time.
Yeah.
Because of just like everything. You should. I'll send you the links to what Pauline, because she recorded a bunch of things for that. Just nothing does it justice. I've never been in front of a facility before where most people weren't walking in. We were all taking pictures and videos.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The Sphere is in Davis. It's what's his name? Owns the Knicks.
I just assumed he did, because.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. It's what's his name? Owns Dolan. It's Dolan who owns the Knicks. My bad.
Oh, well.
But still, the Sphere. If I'm going back to Vegas, it's to go see the Sphere. So,
despite it being owned by Dolan, which I did not know, that makes it
but Dolan's terrible at owning sports teams. He's really good at media stuff. I mean, that's where he made his entire career.
Yeah, I can't. Okay, I didn't want to spend the money that we spent for it, and I'm glad I did. I don't think I've ever spent that much on a concert. I don't think I ever will again. But it was so worth it, even though they did not play my 3 favorite songs. It didn't matter. That's how mind-boggling that whole facility was. But yeah. Anyway, so from what Davis has done, okay, maybe I exaggerate. I definitely exaggerate now that I'm thinking more about it. Becky Hammon's not the top 10 coach, period. Top 10 basketball coach, I will say that.
I'll give you a top 10 basketball.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Mark Davis is by far, not even close, the best WNBA owner in the league. And it's not even close. Everyone will want to play there because of his commitment to women's basketball. And he shows it. He shows it with his pocketbook. He's obviously willing to take a loss on all of this, but he deserves this. He deserves this, and that's the type of ownership that if this league is ever going to get over that hump, first it's going to make me commissioner, but that won't happen. But anyway, Mark Davis is a huge part of that, and I will say right now, I don't think there's any owner right now, or at least maybe tertiary. I'm sure there are. I don't know if there is any WNBA owner, because a lot of them are sort of forced to, or were. But
yeah.
But Mark Davis gives a shit, and it shows, and his players love him, and they should. Yeah. So that sort of ends that. I'm not going to do any elevator down. I've got another giant elevator up, but I'm going to wait that one too.
Okay.
Because it can't.
We're way into this.
Yeah, we're into this, and so we're just going to push all of you now.
It was going to be good, bad, and ugly. I just want to say there was a theme for this week. I'll just go through the theme quickly.
Yeah,
it's people change our it's future major competitions having to change their mind about stuff, and so 2026. So 2026 Winter Olympics are going to be in Italy, and they don't have the money to rebuild the luge track like they're supposed to. So luge, bobsled, and everything else, they're just not going to build it. So it's probably going to have to go to either Austria or Switzerland, who have luge tracks that are up to date with everything. So poor, the skeleton luge and bobsled teams are going to be hanging out away from everybody else. So that's probably going to happen this week. More interestingly to me, the final likely for the 2026 World Cup was going to be in Los Angeles. It now seems likely Los Angeles is going to lose all the games from the World Cup.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yes, because FIFA is saying that SoFi Stadium, which is, the state of the art, still needs improvements done in order to be successful as a stadium for a World Cup tournament. And the owner of SoFi, Kroenke, is like, not only are you making me do this, you're not giving me enough of the receipts for the game here. So up your nose with a rubber hose. So it's looking like Vegas may get the games that were going to Los Angeles. And that the final is either going to be in New York, but now most likely it looks like the final will be in Dallas. for the World Cup
That's
up in 20.
stupid. What's wrong with SoFi for this?
Who knows? But Kroenke's kind of a jerk. So, like, who knows? It may just be personality more than anything else. Jerks trying to one up other jerks.
Or where's
So-
my cut? Because FIFA is not known for that.
Oh yeah, I mean, FIFA is one of the most organizations in the world. I'm not going to fill in the blank. They'll send hitmen after me. And I do want to say, just in case you're wondering if the World Cup's getting closer, I know it's 2026. The following countries were officially eliminated this week from the World Cup. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Mongolia, the Maldives, Guam, Sri Lanka, Macau, Cambodia, Timor-Leste, Brunei, Bhutan, and Laos. All those countries are officially eliminated for a competition that's going to take place 3 years from now. But the most interesting one of those, just for the heck of it, is Cambodia. This was actually my elevator up, and I'll just do that and we can get out of here. The reason Cambodia is the most interesting one is not because I got engaged there, but because they lost 1-0. I did. Yeah, I got engaged in Cambodia. They lost 1-0 to Pakistan. This was Pakistan's first win in 8.5 years. Pakistan had not won a game in 8.5 years. This is the first time in the history of Pakistan they advanced out of this first round.
Huh.
They had never gotten to the second round of Asian qualifying ever. The team is made up of no professional players. They're all like guys who have other jobs who showed up for like a couple weeks to train. They went 0-0 in Cambodia and then won 1-0 at home to advance the next round. Now their next game is in Saudi Arabia, so they're going to get a rude awakening here. But it's a huge step for a country who has never done anything, and a huge population country who has never done anything in world soccer. So that was going to be my good. Just Pakistan making it for the first time anywhere in international soccer.
But Timor-Leste is eliminated, but how's Timor Best?
Made of real gorilla chest. So
Wow, that was awesome.
Chest made of real gorilla chest. See my loafers, former gophers. Sorry, continue.
I can't top that. I guess we're just gonna close here, guys. The United States Athletic Hall of Fame. It's something I know that we're beating this to death because we love this. We love what we've done, and there's nobody else. There's nothing else like it. It's also going to be the only thing where when we make our announcement, we're not gonna just tell you who the 25 are. We're going to tell you the order in which the votes came in. There might be some embarrassments to some of the people at the bottom, but that's what this is. So it might be whoever that might be.
I'm sorry, whoever finished 130, if you got fewer votes than Babe Ruth, Muhammad Ali,
Right.
Bill Russell. I'm sorry, like that's okay.
But yeah, a big part of what we're doing here is to just make this transparent. Now, we're getting a solid amount of votes. Obviously, it's not nearly what we wanted it to be, but next year it will be bigger. We have more of a structure in place. We've got more people who are going to be involved as we're moving forward. It looks like we might have, there's going to be other things that I'm working on that hopefully we'll go through. This means a lot to us. So if you want to support us, please go vote. This would mean a lot to us. www.nothalloffame.com/USA. It's not just because you're doing something for us, because you're doing something for, frankly, and I'll say this even though I'm not from the United States, but I will always say that the United States is the greatest sporting nation in the world, period. I will make that argument against anybody. And I know there's going to be a lot of people say, well, they're not good at this, not good at that. All right, let's look at everything there. It's more important, the Olympics, everything. I can't, we have 17 different sports represented. 17. There's only a few countries that could possibly do that if they were going to match what we're doing. China.
As a matter of fact, we have one sport I haven't even gotten the one nominee from yet. We haven't had our skier yet. So
okay, yeah, Bill Maher. Okay, yeah. So like there's a lot of people behind it, not just Evan and I. People who actually have been at the mountaintop, who have great opinions, just great people. And I guess that's my soapbox here. Usually I'm trying so hard to make corny jokes here. I'm just forfeiting that just because we would love your support.
Yep. So, yeah, so I have some ideas for the announcement as we get there, as we get closer, but
Yeah,
just
so that we're locked into at least our time. We are going to do it live on November 8th. Also, 2 weeks after that, Evan's going to be an arbiter. I've already been told him for that.
oh, we're gonna do that.
Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it.
All right, sounds good.
So I'm not going to plug all the other stuff because that's the thing I want to plug the most. We're just going to sort of like wrap it up here. Guys, thanks so much for your support on this, for everything that we're doing moving forward. Again, we're grassroots people with a giant idea.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then hopefully it's something that, and again, it's not something that we're doing because, hey, this is a great idea, let's get rich. This is a great idea. We
We're
want
not going to get rich off.
We're not getting rich off, I'll tell you that much. I have made no money. But
Yeah.
the idea here is that we have an opportunity to do kind of something kind of crazy that doesn't exist. The idea that there is no National Sports Hall of Fame for the United States is nuts when you think about how many Sports Hall of Fames there are in this country. And we have the opportunity to take it as fans and control it rather than have, writers associations control it with their petty bitterness over, I mean, I just think about Jan Wenner and the Rock Hall.
Yeah.
Like if you are friends with Jan Wenner, you're in. If you're not friends with Jan Wenner, you have no shot. That's not how this is supposed to work. We do have a committee. That committee is to make sure we have the right people in front of you. I bring up Moonlight Graham as the suggestion of someone who's famous enough people have heard of him, but we don't want in front of people. But then after that, our vote counts just as much as yours. So it's committee to make sure the right people in front of you. And are we going to make mistakes? Yes. Tony Hawk never got a vote. I don't know if he deserves to be here, but he never got a vote. But are we going to make mistakes? Yeah, but we'll own up to it. Be like, hey, we missed it. And we're going to tell you everything top to bottom, how it worked, and all that other stuff. If you guys want to see the original votes for how many votes everybody got to get on this list, we have that too. We can put that in the background. We get everything out. And if you are associated with sports and you want to be part of this for the committee going forward, we're more than happy to have you tell us, hey, I'm good at this. I was a professional athlete. I'm a writer. I'm a coach. I'm whatever. We're more than happy to. I'm a blogger.
I'm
more than happy to. Our historians, God, we love historians.
Yeah. I mean, like that's, I think.
I keep bringing up Ray Uri, who I never heard before. I mean, I'm sure pronounce his name yet, but he deserves to be here, and he's only here because to attract people who knew who the heck he was. So.
Yeah, and that's, I think, to just touch on what Evan said, like we are gonna stumble. The only difference is like we're not gonna like say no, we didn't.
Yeah, we're like we know it. We know that there's gonna be mistakes made. I know when I did my videos, like I think at one point I said that Bill Shoemaker was 34 pounds when he was born instead of 34 ounces. Like that stuff is gonna be a problem.
How big did he become when he was a full-grown jockey? Holy shit.
He was like 4'9", 4'10". Yeah, he was tiny for Willie Shoemaker. He didn't think he was going to survive the night. He was born prematurely, and they kept him on the shoebox on the stove to keep him warm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So I mean, we're gonna make mistakes on stuff. None of them are because we are nefarious, because we're like have an agenda. It's just because we are two dudes. So
two dudes who are super passionate about halls of fame. It's like it's like when you go to a wedding and holy shit, you're wearing the same orange tux that I am, and that's how Evan and I are, right?
Yeah, exactly. We are two nerds of a very specific nerdom.
Yes, who study this.
So we found something that is very large within our nerdom that didn't exist, and want to make sure that if it's going to be done, why not us? And make sure to have it done correctly. And again, we don't think we're the smartest. I don't think I'm the best at presenting. None of us think of that. We're just trying to get this done right. So
yeah, and I think also too, just to put the final bow on it, like why this is so important to us and why we're sort of being so transparent. That's a big part of what we are.
And it's a big part of what we hate about the other halls is the lack of transparency on everything.
Some of them, to be fair.
Some of them. Yeah, not all of them, but some. But continue. Yeah, I just want to keep.
Yeah, because like we love, like it's like the basketball, these with Basketball Hall of Fame. Okay, I love the multiple committees. I think for the most part they get things right. But who the hell's deciding it? Is it a bot? Is it
Yeah, we have no idea. We have no idea how many people vote for the Rock Hall.
no? And including the people who actually vote on the Rock Hall.
People vote don't know who votes.
No, they don't know any of the other voters. I know, I've talked to some. They are in the dark in a lot of these things. Baseball, as much as they're probably, it's still the biggest sporting Hall of Fame. I mean, like there's some of the pettiness involved in that. Now, granted, when we have an open thing, we might run into that later. We could get vote flooding. I don't know, but if someone's that passionate about something, is it that wrong? Probably not.
Yeah, so we'll deal with that when we get down there. I hope we have a situation where we have too many people voting against somebody.
Yeah, that would be a problem I'm going to love to have. All right, so we've taken up enough of your time. So, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, wherever you may be, make it a great day, because I ain't coming again. Unless the Buddhists are right, then maybe they are. I don't know. I haven't got to go into more Buddhism.
I know Stephen Hawking once invited threw a party for himself in 1994, and nobody showed up. And they said, well, what, balloons, cake, everything. And he said, well, I haven't invited anybody yet. He was inviting future time travelers to come to this location on that date to prove that time travel didn't exist. So
the best guest star the next generation ever had on Star Trek.
That is true. Anyway, guys, we got to get out of here.
All right, take care, everybody.
Take care, guys. Peace.